So awakening is simply to recognize the nature of our essential being. My name is Rupert Spira. I speak about the essential non-dual understanding that underlies all the great religious and spiritual traditions. And I write and lead guided meditations and have conversations whose purpose is to lead to an experiential recognition of this understanding. Understand that the peace and the happiness for which we all long above all else can never, by definition, be found in objective experience. It can never be provided by objects, substances, activities, and relationships. I would suggest understanding that clearly and not spending the rest of one's life seeking fulfillment where it cannot be found. Anyone who is watching this movie is doing so precisely because they have either understood or at least intuited that the peace and happiness for which they long cannot be found in objective experience, and have begun this investigation into their true nature. That is the most important investigation one can make, and it is the investigation upon which depends our happiness. When I was younger, this understanding was mainly available in the Eastern spiritual traditions. It was available in the Western traditions, but it was so disguised and codified in those traditions as to be almost inaccessible. So many people of my generation went physically, or at least intellectually, to the East to find this understanding. And Eastern culture, by comparison with Western culture, is exotic. And so this understanding acquired a flavor of the exotic from the cultures in which it was expressed. And many people, myself included, thought as a result of this that there was something exotic about the non-dual understanding, that it required some extraordinary way of life. You had to give up family life, or grow your hair, or get a special name, or subscribe to some kind of teacher or tradition, or engage in strange practices. All these kind of things which had nothing to do with the core understanding, and they were to do with the culture in which the understanding was expressed at a particular time. So now the understanding has been completely divested of the traditional cultural packaging in which many of us first heard about it, and now just the essential understanding is available in a way that enables us to carry on leading our lives exactly as they are. Family life, work life. It's not necessary to make any external changes in one's life. Consciousness is the ultimate reality of the universe. So we might well ask, if consciousness is the ultimate reality of the universe and everything and everyone is obviously that, then how come that the world appears to us as a multiplicity and diversity of discrete and independently existing people and animals and things, all made out of stuff called matter? How can we reconcile this statement that consciousness is the ultimate reality of the universe when it appears as a multiplicity and diversity of objects made out of matter? And I would suggest that infinite consciousness has the ability to localize itself as numerous separate subjects of experience. That is, all sentient beings, all people, all animals. Each of us are localizations of infinite consciousness, in infinite consciousness, made only of infinite consciousness, from whose perspective it views its own activity as the outside world. So what appears to us as a world made out of matter from our localized perspectives is, from the point of view of reality, simply the activity of the one infinite consciousness. In other words, in the ultimate analysis, there are no discrete or independently existing things or people. There is one infinite, indivisible whole, the unity of being, that is only refracted into an apparent multiplicity and diversity of objects and things when the one looks at its own activity through the perceiving faculties of the finite mind. It's as if infinite consciousness puts on a virtual reality headset, as if infinite consciousness puts on a VR headset made of thinking and perceiving. And in doing so, the moment it puts on the VR headset, it localizes itself within its own activity. And through that headset, it looks out through the perceiving faculties of a finite mind, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, and smelling. And it fragments the unity of its own being and makes it appear as 10,000 things. What I'm suggesting is that there is very much more to the universe than the finite mind. I'm not suggesting that the universe only appears in each of our finite minds. The universe exists outside of our finite mind, but inside consciousness. But it is the limitations of our finite mind that give the universe its appearance. So when we look out at the universe, we're seeing the reality that exists prior to its being perceived, but we are seeing it through the lens of our perceiving faculties, which gives it its appearance. And becomes awakened by recognizing that what we essentially are is already fully awake, fully aware, complete, whole, fulfilled, at peace. It's like asking how does the sun become illuminated? Its nature is light. It is already fully illuminated. The nature of our essential being is already peace and happiness. It's not clear to us all because our essential being is so thoroughly mixed with the content of experience that its innate peace and happiness is dimmed by experience. And for that reason, we think that our essential being needs to be enlightened. No, our essential being doesn't need to be enlightened any more than the sun needs to be lit up in the early morning. The sun's always shining with the same brightness. Our essential being is always shining with the same peace and joy. But that peace and joy are dimmed by the agitation and lack that characterizes our thoughts and feelings. Enlightenment is not about becoming awakened. Nobody becomes awakened or enlightened. It's a recognition of the light of pure knowing, whose nature is peace and happiness, that we always and already are. I started my spiritual search in the classical Advaita Vedanta tradition, which was a devotional path that involved mantra meditation, which I practiced very diligently for 20 years. And mantra meditation involves focusing your attention on a sound, and then gradually the sound fades. However, it was really when I came in touch with the direct path that my spiritual search really reached its culmination. Because in this direct approach, we don't give our attention to any object, however subtle, for instance, a mantra, a sound, the breath. We allow our attention to sink inwards or backwards into its source. I have always been myself. My sense of myself runs throughout my life. It remains consistently present throughout my life. What is present in me now that was present yesterday, last year, 10 years ago, and when I was a 2-year-old child? What is this essential I or self to whom all my experience happens? The The recognition of the nature of that one is the great secret to life. It is the direct path to peace and happiness. If we believe and feel that we are a temporary, finite, separate self, we are, whether we know it or not, searching for peace and happiness. In other words, it's not possible to be a separate self or to feel oneself as a separate self and not be in search of happiness. So what is required in this case is to reorientate one's search for happiness. Instead of seeking for happiness in the objective content of experience, to seek happiness in oneself. So the spiritual practice that is required is to direct one's attention, or more accurately, to relax one's attention into its source, pure awareness, rather than direct it towards an object, substance, activity, relationship, and so on. So the spiritual practice, if we can call it a practice, would be this relaxing of the attention, this subsidence of the attention into the heart of awareness, resting in being as being. For one who has recognized the nature of their being, they know their being as the source of the peace and happiness for which they long. So the world no longer becomes the place in which they seek happiness, seek fulfillment. It doesn't mean to say that such a person no longer has desires, but the desires are not there to fulfill the sense of lack that is characteristic of the separate self. As such a person has found the source of happiness within themselves, and their desires come from that sense of happiness. They do not go towards it. For instance, in the realm of relationship, it makes a big difference to our relationships. We no longer seek an other to fulfill the needs of ourself. We seek another to share the experience of happiness that we already have, and this relieves our friends of the impossible burden of providing happiness for a voracious, unsatisfied self. The words "know thyself" were carved on the entrance of the Temple of Apollo in Delphi, and as such stand as an invitation at the dawn of Western civilization to humanity, suggesting that to know thyself is really the foundation of all civilization. Why? Because our self stands at the center of all our experience. Whatever we are experiencing, it is we who are experiencing it. Whatever we think and feel, our thoughts and feelings arise on behalf of ourself. Whatever activities and relationships we are engaged in, we engage those activities and relationships in service of ourself. So our self stands at the center of our experience. So what could be more important than to know the nature of ourself? And would it be possible to know the nature of anything else if we do not first know the nature of that which knows it? So this recognition of our true nature is not only the recognition that brings our desire for happiness in the world to an end. It is also the recognition that enables us to live in a way that is consistent with the understanding that at the deepest level, everything and everyone are one. This understanding would bring kindness, compassion, justice, tolerance, understanding into our society. Our society would be revolutionized by this understanding. So could this understanding become mainstream in our lifetime? Why not? Yes.